members to report to make a quorum. So that's what we're waiting on. So it doesn't usually take too long. So just hang in there with us. So I want to welcome everybody tonight to the March 2nd, 2021 City Council meeting. And I want to welcome our guests as well. And I don't know if we have any media on tonight yet or not, but usually KJIW and Helena-West World shows up. But, so they may show up later if not already. So, but we do have a quorum, so I want to welcome everybody. And Ms. Cindy, if you would call the roll.
Ms. Ford. Mr. Etherly.
Here.
Mr. Franklin.
Here.
Ms. Crockett. Mr. St. Columbia.
Here.
Ms. Davis. Have 3 yes, the mayor would make 4.
And it's pretty customary for council members to show up here and shortly, so they'll probably be logging on in a minute. But in the meantime, we have no minutes to report, right, Ms. Sandy, Ms. Ramsey?
Yes, sir. That's
so we're gonna move right into new business or the business. And also, in the interest of time, because we sure respect your time, Judge Carter, I want to recognize Judge Carter, and he's here to talk about staffing issues, among other things. You're recognized, Judge. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members, for having me. Here to talk to y'all about my deputy district court clerks. As I'm sure most of you are aware, while I do have the ability to appoint deputy district court clerks, those appointments are subject to city council approval, and so I'm here tonight to ask for approval on those. I have appointed Ms. Linda Hayden to the same position she was already holding, and also appointed Carlos Spencer to his position. I'm asking city council to approve the same salaries that they had at the time. The third position, which is currently vacated, I'm asking the city council to consider increasing the base pay for that position to $15 an hour. I think the responsibilities involved with that job deserve that wage. It's been so long since the base pay has been increased on that actually when we were looking back at ordinances for the base pay, it was less than minimum wage. And so I'm asking the city council to consider increasing that base pay to $15 an hour. I think this would be well, actually, it would be a better than budget neutral proposal. While it will be increasing the salary from what the previous deputy clerk was making. She was making $13.46 an hour. The difference in pay between the previous district court clerk herself, Ms. Dion Carter, and my new district court clerk, Charlotte Hansberry, was about $18,000. Ms. Carter was making around $54,000, and Ms. Hansberry makes $36,000. And so what I'm asking from the current base pay, which would be minimum wage, $22,880, to $15 an hour, which would be 31,200, would be 8,320. So it would still be $10,000 less than what the budget was previously. I do have a clerk or a person in mind to fill that position, but I needed to address the council first to see what they would be willing to increase that base pay to.
Okay, questions from the council?
Question. Yeah, I have a couple of questions. What experience does this person bring to the table? And what are the 15? You have current people who are already there. This person that you want to increase the base pay to $15 an hour. What experience do they bring to justify $15,000 an hour raise?
All right, thank you, Councilman Franklin. This particular person, she was the chief deputy county clerk in Lee County from 2001 until 2020.
To the judge.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that, Councilman Franklin.
Okay. So is this the thing that you want to bring in? And this is not
I'm sorry.
the $15 an hour. The $15 an hour that you want is for a deputy clerk, right?
That's correct. It's for a deputy clerk.
Okay. So, like I'm saying, even does she have any court experience?
Yeah, yes, Councilman Franklin. She was the chief deputy county clerk in Lee County for close to 20 years.
Okay.
She's had lots and lots of experiences. She worked with multiple different county clerks. That's the probate clerk.
Okay.
She's got lots and lots of experience. I worked with her personally in Lee County during my time as a prosecutor. All commitments go through the county clerk's office, and so I worked with her a lot on that. And actually, while I was the election coordinator for Lee County for a few years, she did all the election things, which that's not really related to this, but she does have 20 years of experience in the county clerk's office in Lee County.
Okay. So I only thing I can say about that, I'm just one vote on that. If you say, and I heard you use the term budget neutral, that's something that I've used. But if you're gonna be budget neutral with this, you're gonna bring somebody in that two of the people are already there, kind of have the same equivalent to the same experience that this person has. So you're gonna bring this person in, and these people in district court just finally got up to $15, but you want to bring these people in to make what they make already. And it's kind of like for me, if you bring somebody in, if she has that much experience, I would try to. I can't tell you how to run your stuff, but I made her the deputy clerk. So if you're asking $15 for this person who has 20 years of experience, and you're gonna bring him or her in to match the same salary as these other two people who've been here, who have had evaluations, who have went through the ranks to get this. We in Phillips County, that's Lee County. So I know all things work together, but these people have been in that office, running that office. I do believe this. I can't give you $15. I'm not in favor of $15. You can hire her and you can evaluate her within the next 6 months or 12 months. And I would consider that. But as of now, my stance is I don't think we should bring anybody in paying them what the district clerks are getting now. That's just me. You have other people on the line that you have to convince. But me personally, I think that, these people have worked up to get $15, and they've been in this county. I can see if they're going to Lee County with this, trying to work their position, going to Lee County to work. That's something that they would deal with. But in this county right here, I don't believe I cannot give her $15. We have people who are in the offices. We have other people in line who have been with the city longer than this for 20 some years and have not got up to $15. And I think if the mayor got that term for me, budget neutral. Well, if you're trying to be that way, you probably want to flip-flop roles or whatever. But I'm not in favor of that right now. And you have 5 other members that probably will go with you. But I don't see it to do the employees who have been there that way. And you said the experience is good that she has that experience, but I don't know the details. I don't know that, you and the mayor need to sit down again and renegotiate something to help you all get over that hump. But for me, the people who have been there working in that department for almost 20 years, they started out at the bottom of the barrel. They worked their way up to $15. And I don't think I couldn't perform my job knowing that you're going to bring somebody in making what I make, and I struggled in this field to get here. And they all of a sudden snap a finger, you give them. So we have other people, other departments that are looking for this same thing. And Miss Evergene Ford has always said that we shouldn't go to $4 and $3 to give people that kind of money. And you got other, because when you ask for it, somebody else is gonna come. We got a couple things where a couple of deputy directors are asking for their money, a secretary are asking for their money, and the mayor knows as well. He's asking for some money for some other people. So me to let that go, you all may need to run it with somebody else. I'm not in favor of it, and I give it back to you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Franklin. I understand your concerns. Just to clarify though, the $15 an hour that I'm asking for, that would be $31,200 a year. The other 2 clerks are currently making $34,000 a year. So they would still be making more with their seniority. And I would also like to point out that my new district clerk herself, the actual district clerk, is only making $36,000 a year. Like I say, Ms. Carter was making $54,000. So there's a large decrease in the amount of money being spent on salaries in that office. Yes, go ahead.
And Judge, not to cut you off, but Miss Carter couldn't have made $56,000. So you got the numbers are wrong on that. Miss Carter was still listed. Mr. Turner, if I'm not correct, if I'm correct, Miss Carter wasn't at $56,000, was she? Because she was getting that much money. She makes just about more than the ladies, most of the department heads. And she was considered as a department head, but I know the law changed that she was working. Mr. Turner, answer the question for me before I get into that.
She was making 54, a little up. She was making 54,700, a little over 54,700.
So when did this occur?
Mr. Franklin, if I may, Judge King asked you all last year to give everybody raises. When you all gave everybody raises, that was part of the package.
Okay.
When you raised everybody in the office salary, that was part of it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ballard. I stand corrected. But even with the $54,000, Miss Carter been the clerk for off and on for almost 20 years, right, Mr. Ballard? Because she's right in retirement.
Not the clerk, but she came in probably 2002, 2003, and then she was there till sometime 2008, and then she came back in 2011. And so she's probably been there at least 15 years.
Okay. So with her experience, well, I'm still that's fine, but that's what the base pays for. I'm gonna leave everybody where they is, and I'm not in favor of giving that. I think they worked up to it. Now you can the mayor should have an evaluation policy that you and the mayor and that person, or you the mayor, because we don't have a human resource department. You all need to sit down and reevaluate that. I understand that you are the new judge. I understand that, but I also understand that all money comes through the city council. So I'm just one person. You have to convince other people, but I'm not in favor of giving not one dime until some evaluation is done, not one penny until you all, these people in their positions. And I know it may be some retaliation because I know how people work, but I don't think it's fair that people come in to start, everybody should work from the bottom up. When I got on the city council, Mr. Etherly has more experience, Mr. St. Columbia has more experience than me. I don't expect to get their seniority. Mr. St. Columbia, Mr. Etherly, I follow in another category with some more people. So I don't think that I should have all the things that Mr. Etherly and Mr. St. Columbia have because they have the seniority over me.
I do understand the concern, and I just feel like the position itself deserves higher than the minimum wage. I'm asking for $15 an hour. President Biden has indicated that $15 an hour is what he's really pushing for a national minimum wage. I think that the possibility that's going to end up being the law at some point anyway. That's one of the reasons why I'm asking for $15. But I like I say, I do think the decision itself and the responsibilities that it entails deserves $15 an hour. So that's why I'm asking the council for that.
I give you $12. And I said I wouldn't give a damn, but I give $12. Since you're talking about minimum wage, I give you $12 as far as I'm gonna go. And the reason why $12, because I hey, that's above minimum wage. And even you have to consider getting some more votes because we have people, and I take that back. I'm gonna stick to what I said. I'm not giving one dime because we have people right here that need to be adjusted to salaries, and we get a memo saying that you're gonna be on the call, and I'm not gonna check up much longer with you all the time, but I can't see it. If this person, whoever you all want, they need to have to come in here and work and get up to it. I'm gonna stick with Ms. Ford used to always say, we cannot come out throwing these big figures out at people, trying to give them these big salaries. They have to work up to it because guess what? We have to go through this budget again, and I'm still going through the budget right now to find things. I figured this. If this is what you want, let the person work up to it. You got 120 days, and you can come back. That's just Chris Franklin. But you have 120 days. It used to be, I said 90, but 120 days, you come back and we can work from there. I mean, and that's where I am.
All right, thank you, Councilman Franklin. Does anybody else have any other questions they'd like me to address?
Yes, sir. This is Joe St. Columbia. I understand $15 is where we need to be, I think, in all these positions. The other two people that are there as your deputies, they're going to be making more money than this lady. Is that correct?
That's correct. They would both be making about $3,000 more than this person.
And she's got to have a living wage. And if the other two are making that, and she has the experience, I disagree with Mr. Franklin. I think if you're going to get quality people in the right positions to do the work that's necessary for this community, you're going to have to pay them. And $15 an hour for a person in that position, I don't think is excessive. And she's going to be making less than the other two that are already there. So they will be making more money than she will. You don't see any conflict, do you, by bringing her in at this salary, Judge? Is that the way I understand it?
That's correct, Councilman. I don't see any conflict in that at all.
And I would, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we accept Judge Carter's proposal in giving the financing he needs to hire this person and bring her in at $15. I make the motion.
Thank you. Mr. St. Columbia makes the motion that we adopt Judge Carter's recommendation at $15 an hour for the open deputy clerk court. Is there a second? These virtual meetings are a little harder when it comes to these motions because I can't see everybody, but is there a second? I'm not sure if any other council members have joined us yet either. So I'll ask one more time. Is there a second to Mr. St. Columbia's motion? Okay. The motion fails for lack of a second. The only other thing I would raise is, or the other thing I would point out is what Judge Carter started with, which is that he's asking the council to approve his deputy recommendations in that he has filled, which would include 2 people who are already there, and he's recommended that their salaries remain the same. And I don't know, Mr. Valley, if how that works exactly.
I don't think, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening to everyone. I don't think that that portion has to be approved. You've already budgeted for those, and the salary remained the same. They were not terminated. He rehired them in the same position. As one thing that I would like the council to cogitate on is this simple notion. These employees are atypical in a very narrow sense. And when I say atypical, what I'm saying is this: the city has an obligation to pay for the positions, but they are state employees until the state takes them over. And so the practical question is, what is a comparable salary for these positions? And that department has to be evaluated as court departments are, not as compared to other entities of the city. And that's one thing I would like you all to keep in mind. It's still a financial issue for the city council, and the city council still has to be reasonable with what they give in a position. But within the vein of what we're dealing with courts, and we're dealing with what is a reasonable salary for a clerk. And I would ask that you all keep that in mind. And while we're going through, I know that we have other employees. My assistant would like a raise, and et cetera, and other people would like raises. But the one thing also I want you to keep in mind is simply this is the court system, and the court system salary should be based on what is consistent throughout the district, what is consistent throughout the state for this, because you have to look at it more as a state employer. What is the state paying these type of salaries? And so with that, I would yield. The other employees are already approved. There's no need to council act on that. The reason why Judge Carter is here tonight, he talked to me about the base pay, and we've met with Mr. Turner and the requirement for the base pay to be raised in order for it to be hired, and that's why he's on the agenda. And I know it's short notice, but we met Thursday afternoon. And so that's why you got such short notice, because he inquired of me relating to what did he need to do it. And this is the very first meeting since our conversation. And so that's the history behind how we end up today, and you receiving such short notice as to that this issue is going to be on the agenda.
I do have a question. So, Mr. Turner, if I don't mean to put you on the spot, but this is right now anyway, as the judge has proposed, it's not really budget neutral. It's actually saving money, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess you can hear me. Yeah. I guess when you consider the former clerk's salary, the decrease in that, and actually it's only a slight increase in the deputy clerk salary, or the former deputy clerk salary. So yeah, there's a decrease in the salaries, in the district court salaries.
So really, from the budgeting point of view, we're saving money with Judge Carter's proposal. So, Mr. Valley, we don't. So, at this point, well, let me just stop there. Are there any other questions or comments by members of the council?
Yes, I have one. This is Mr. St. Columbia. Mr. St. Columbia, it is so good that you say that these people need $15. And I would like to see that when it comes to other employees getting $15, that you be in the same favor that you were for this position, because that's what we have in this city, that you have a person who worked for the city for 20 years and gets minimum wage. They've been in a job for this city for 20 years and they get the minimum wage, not $15. They get $12 or whatever minimum wage is. But I want you to have that same energy for those people as well as this position. I'm not bashing anybody. I would like to see the person hired, but not at $15. I'm just not gonna go there. We just had backhoe heavy equipment operators to get to $15, and they've been here. So and you all just came to us in a couple of meetings and said we need to establish for the years of experience, where it's gonna be $12 for $13. What is the starting pay? So you all are shooting yourself in the foot with this $15. You all need to set what you all are trying to do, because this, every time we have somebody wants some money, you get this out of the number sky, then you're gonna come back a couple months later saying that we can't make payroll, we can't do this because we did this and we did that. So if it's gonna be budget neutral, just like when you all didn't hire those police officers to help us get that $1.2 million, I think we can save some money to save up to get people what they need to be at. Right now, again, Mr. St. Columbia, I appreciate your motion, but when these other people come and ask for their money, I want you to be the same way with them as you were with this. And I yield back.
Mr. Franklin, I certainly thank you for your consideration. And I've always said we need to pay our employees more than what they're getting right now. It's pitiful. Some of our employees are highly underpaid, and that's why we have the problems in the police department of hiring people. We're not paying enough money when we introduce these people and bring them into the police department. These people in the police department dodge bullets, and therefore they need to be paid more than a fireman to start with. And I think the fireman pay is apropos, but the police department new officers coming in need to be paid more. I think a person that's coming in with the experience that the judge mentioned about her, she has the knowledge, has the experience coming from another area, coming into this area, and she needs to be paid this amount of money. If we're going to upgrade our community with quality and competent, qualified people, we're going to have to pay these people. Our employees all over are underpaid, and we need to figure ways of paying them more than what they're getting now. The federal government's going to come in, going to pay them $15 soon anyway. So she is going to be paid less than the others that are in the office, according to Judge Carter. She's not going to be making as much as the other two employees, so she will be below their standard of payment. And I stand firm that we should pay this person, although she's new to us, she's not new to the business, and she's coming in with the knowledge and wisdom and experience from another county. We need to support this idea. And if we can bring other police officers from other places here, I think we're going to have to pay them. And we're underpaying our police officers now anyway. But I still stand firm on making that motion. I'd make it, made it once, I'd make it again. I think we need to hire this person in at 50, and she's going to be making, again, less than the other two that are in the office. And I think there'll be harmony among all the employees there. So I stand firm with making that decision. Thank you, Mr. Franklin, for your thoughts and ideas.
Mr. St. Columbia, one more thing I have. Now, I would never judge police and fire. They both do life-saving things. I think that when you want something, you can pitch you're a good salesman. I like that about you, a good salesman. But at this point, we're not talking about police and fire. We're talking about this district court. And this is my thing is this. My thing, I'm not talking about anybody, but we cannot give $15. The state has, the federal government has not stepped in yet. So good to hear everybody said what President Biden is trying to do. You are talking to some of your Republican colleagues, come on board with this. But as of right now, it's at minimum, and that's what we're gonna follow. So that's just me. So if you all don't take the $15 and Mr. Turner in the budget. If something changes, I will go in the budget and change the prices in the budget to reflect that. And Mr. St. Columbia, everybody loves to sing your praises when they're on the other side. I respect you, but I just can't go with you on that. And I don't care who does not like it. It's not politics. It's not personal. It's business. It's the city's business. We got employees who've been with the city for 20 years who are not getting $15. We have employees who have died to work for this city that were not getting $15. So that is a slap into the other employees' faces that you could say that want to give them. As I'm saying, the mayor and the judge, I'm not apologizing, y'all. $15 is way too much with no experience with it, with Phillips County. I worked in Clarksdale. My experience, I still came in the door with what the minimum wage policy was.
Okay, any other members of the council at this time? So Mr. Valley, I think you had a valid point. About the competitiveness of the salary and positions in district courts in Arkansas. I think it'd be probably advisable, Judge, if we went back, talked to the administrative office of the courts and see if there's been a salary audit done of the cities or district courts rather around the state, just see what deputy clerks get paid. I mean, I'd kind of be interested in knowing myself. I would just, and I think Mr. Valley is right. You have to consider the responsibilities of the position, and the responsibilities of this position include, if you get a speeding ticket and you pay it, you don't want to get stopped a year later and have your license jerked because it didn't show up correctly in district court. We've had that experience. We've had several experiences like that, and that's incumbent on the district deputy clerks to make sure that a fine is paid, for example, that it shows up adequately in the state system, so that if they're stopped anywhere, Delaware, anywhere, and it comes up in that system, that it shows that it's been dealt with accordingly. And that's a heavy responsibility. Each job has its different qualifications, has its different expectations, and is valued differently. So while I do think we underpay people, I want to also point out that we this year, because of our financial stewardship, we're able to approve a COLA for all employees. And we'll be able to pay for it. The last COLA, as I understand it, we had to reduce before we never could honor the commitment we originally made. And while it's not huge, if you don't get a COLA, you're literally going backwards in your salary because the cost of other things keep going up. So if your salary doesn't keep pace with that, then you're not only not getting a raise, you're actually going backwards. So COLAs are important. We were able to do that this year, and we're going to be able to fund it all year long for every employee for the city. And we've done some other things and we're going to, I hope, do some more things because we've had good financial stewardship here in the last few years. And so that's something, while I agree though, as a rule, then I think Mr. St. Columbia put his finger on it. That's true for the whole city. I wish we could afford not just government, but everywhere. And that's one of the reasons we're one of the poorest counties in the country. So I wish we could, but certainly we need to look at those things based on qualifications, credentials, experience has been mentioned, and the job itself. You just pay more for some jobs than you do others. It's just that simple. So, but having said that, I think Mr. Valley's right. We should look at what other deputy clerks are paid, and I'll stop there. Anybody, anything else from any other members of the council?
Hey,
Have-
Mayor,
Haven't had a chance to speak yet. Ms. Franklin.
I thank you, Mayor. And for the person who said, "Oh my God," I thank God too. But Mayor, you said that and you're right. Not only courts, we have some police officers that when they write tickets, they can go in and pull the ticket, or you have people that can say, well, they were sick or they had a medical condition, and you can now process that. And you said COLA. Let's be clear when we talk about COLA. The city, because of the coronavirus, we have saved money, and because of the stimulus that we got, that put us in a financial position to give a COLA and last all year long. Not because we you've done some spending yourself. So let's be honest when we tell the citizens, because I know we got a lot of your supporters on, and I'm just saying this, that yes, we did give a COLA under the Valley administration. I wasn't there. And we did give some raises in the Hollowell administration. And some of them a couple of departments had to be called back. But now you can fund this COLA as well. So some more things you can fund due to the coronavirus, because the city is not open. The federal government has gave us some funds to make sure that we could do some things with. So we're in a financial position because of the coronavirus has put us in position to have some money. Mr. Turner.
Yes.
Am I correct about that?
Yeah, well, the coronavirus, the pandemic has increased sales tax revenues. And that was a consideration when coming up, when creating the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. And
The increase in revenues was help to determine if we could afford to give the COLA or not. But as far as the stimulus, that wasn't taken into consideration. That was basically, for me, it was good to have it sort of to increase the city's surplus, and so we have more of a cushion. But that wasn't taken into account when determining the amount of the COLA increase. But the increase in sales tax from the increase in sales tax as a result of people not being able to, go out of town and shop as much, doing a little bit more shopping in town, that was taken into account when considering the COLA increase.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Turner. And Judge, I'm not going to hold you up any longer with the financial discussion, but we want to thank you for your time.
Mayor, before I go, I do thank the council, and I understand that my $15 proposal did not get a second, but Councilman Franklin did indicate that he would consider $12 an hour. I really do think the position deserves more than minimum wage. Could the council consider increasing the base salary to $12 an hour?
Members of the council.
And Judge, I did say that I did say $12, but then you missed the part. I said I'm not in favor of that. They need to work from where they are. So I went back to that. So I'm back to that. Y'all need to do something different. At that point, and I came back, and I'm sure the recording will show that I came back to say, hey, no, I'm gonna stay in my position. And my position is they got to come and work up to it, because it's still not fair to employees that have been here unless the mayor, you and the treasurer can go out and see how y'all can get these other folks the money that they need to survive on their job. The mayor just said cost of living. We did so well. If we did so well, show it.
I understand your concerns, Mr. Franklin, but I can't go out and do that for other departments. The only thing I can do is for my department, and this position deserves more than $11 an hour. It just really does, and I wish the council would consider. Like I understand that the $15 is a no-go apparently for the council, but I do think that it deserves more than minimum wage, and I wish the council would consider doing that. It's an important position, And I wish the council would reconsider on that.
When we have had at least another council member join us, and maybe more, I couldn't tell for sure. So just to tell everybody where we are again, Judge Carter's joined us tonight, asks the council's approval for the district court deputy clerk position that is open. And his most recent request was $12 an hour for that position. And so before we move on, is there does anybody else, member of the council, that you want to, would entertain a motion, I guess I'd say, on the $12 an hour proposal that the judge made?
Well, Mr. Mayor, Joe St. Columbia, I'll make a motion for $12 an hour.
Mr. St. Columbia makes a motion for $12 an hour for the district court clerk, deputy clerk position that is open. Is there a second? Going once. Is there a second to Mr. St. Columbia's proposal, $12 an hour? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Judge. If you could get us the information we were talking about that Mr. Valley mentioned, I think that would be helpful. And we can always bring it back up later. So, again, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us, and we can take this up later. And good luck with your court, and we welcome you.
All right, and I thank the council for the consideration. You all have a good evening.
Thank you, Judge. Okay, we're going to move to the next discussion, which is on Sky Cops. I got disconnected last time and never get to this, and it wasn't really printed on the agenda anyway, so it's probably just as well. And Chief Smith is with us tonight and online, I see, so he'll be available for questions as well. But basically, the issue I was going to address were two things. One is we have both our state senator and our state legislator, our House member, working on solutions to the pole attachment issue for the two Sky Cops that must be put on poles that we already own, bought with a Main Street grant for Cherry Street, but not yet up because we have not been able to get Entergy to agree to put them up or to allow us to put them up. And that's been a very frustrating process. It began before I became mayor, and I'm very, and I want to say in the same breath that Entergy has been absolutely wonderful to the city in many other ways, especially the linemen, the people in the field. I can't say enough wonderful things about them. So I don't want to paint Entergy with a broad brush. I think this is a narrow legal issue that comes down to one person and one desk in Little Rock, and it's been very frustrating. But they're, despite every concession that we could possibly make to Entergy, they still have not agreed to put them up on poles. In the past several months, y'all approved an expenditure for two, I think it was two additional pole attached Sky Cops. Because of the frustration with Entergy, Chief Smith and I both would recommend that the council consider changing that to allow us to buy one mobile Sky Cop with the money that we would have used to buy the two stationary Sky Cops. Mobile Sky Cops like the one we do have that was purchased is about 3 times more expensive, but it's also 3 times or more usable because we, as you know, we can move it around, and we have moved it around to hot spots around town, but we need more of them. And it might require, Mr. Valley, some paperwork, but the general discussion that I wanted to have was first just to brief you on where it is, And secondly, to ask you to consider amending or changing that to allow us to purchase a mobile Skycop. And then this final thing I was going to ask is, I know there's some support for Skycops on the council, to ask you to consider appropriating more money for mobile Skycops. We have a huge demand, a huge need, and many constituent requests for Skycops in their neighborhoods. And there hasn't been one request that isn't warranted, it's unwarranted or unnecessary. I wish I could say that weren't true, as we all do, but it's the case that we just simply we can use more mobile Skycops. And so I would just put that on the table for discussion. I know Mr. Valley can tell us what we need to do in terms of resolutions or waiving bids or anything else, but I just wanted to bring that up for discussion. We can make a decision on it at a future time if Mr. Valley says we have to do, we might have to waive bidding, I don't know, but it's an important issue. We can afford to do it now. Chief Smith has done an excellent job of getting USDA rural development grants to match those Skycops, the Skycop that we have, and the two stationary ones we were talking about. And in order to get USDA to agree to change that grant, we would have to agree as a city. The city council would have to agree to allow us to change that to a mobile Skycop. So having said that, before I take questions, Chief Smith, I want to ask him to chime in here if you want to and correct anything that I might have misstated. I don't think I did, but.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is Chief Smith, Helena-West Police Department. Good evening, everyone. Let's give you a little history and background of the Skycop program that we actually having. It's actually, we're in the process of 3 phases. In 2019, we set forth to purchase actually 2 Skycop mobile trailers, which was going to cost the total cost for everything was $101,000. At the time, we were working on the matching money that we were only, with the help of the city council, to give us some of the matching money. We were able to only get 1 of those mobile units, our second phase. And for correction, Mayor, we actually have 3 that are under our second phase, which was in 2020. We got a USDA grant that really helped us out, and also with the monies that the city council had given us to get 3 mobile, well, not the mobile, but the pole cams. One thing that changes with the Skycop cams is they are actually, you in a waiting list, because Skycop is a company that was developed through 2 or 3 Memphis police officers who developed this system that is throughout the country right now. There's only 1 location that is headed and spearheaded in Memphis, Tennessee, that designed and developed this technology that help law enforcement officers with technology to decrease crime or be more proactive. If you look at the police department, we're more reactive than proactive. And let me explain that. Reactive is there's a crime, a situation that goes on, we respond to it and we deal with the situation there. Where proactive is that we're constantly monitoring the crime level, crime mapping, crime analysis, to be able to look at hot spots where we are able to go in to diffuse those crimes within those communities. With the Skycop program, they have came up with a new development where with the 3 new ones that we're having problems putting up on pole cams because of the industry, these programs shows that with this new program that we have, the Skycop cams are able to have gunshot recognition, and also there will be tag readers. So in a neighborhood, we just say, for instance, in the number locations where all cars that go into those locations, the tag readers read every tag throughout the neighborhood. It reads every tag to say, hey, this vehicle was going through here at this time. This is this vehicle's owner. Also, it shows gunshot recognition. They are designed by the specs that the police department and the community wants. I think right now, with the increase of gunshots in neighborhoods, the crime that goes on, this is very important. But the problem is getting them up on poles. And that's something that we would have to discuss in the council. At your approval, we'll find alternative means to be able to combat some of that, where we can be able to put them up on pole cams. In the meantime, we have trailers. These trailers are designed. These trailers are ran off of 6 batteries and with fuel if it goes down, or what we have, since we've had our first mobile SkyCop cam, it is also solar powered as well. So we hadn't had any problems of running it. As monitoring the SkyCop cams, what actually that part of the technology goes to the police department, where we can monitor it 24 hours a day. So to be example, myself, the mayor, or whomever is a coordinator inside the police department can monitor these cameras 24 hours. They're 24 hours where we can monitor the locations, we can indicate where the gunshots are coming from. It also has the capability of reading tags, which give us more information to be able to solve some of these crimes and what's going on in our community. The total cost for the first set of mobile cams for the trailers was actually $52,000. That $52,000, what the USDA grant gives us, is only between 32 and 35%, which the additional monies the city or the police department have to come up with the matching money on the trailers. So we said one mobile cam, we're looking at about $52,000 with all the logistics for the SkyCop gun recognition, and also with the tag readers as well. The 3 ones that we got for the pole cams actually came up to $24,000 a piece. And that gave us a total about for 2, For 2, it was $24,000 a piece, which came up to about $42,000. The second phase of this plan is to be able to do it in phases, do a grid throughout the city. So we start where we get more crimes. So what we want to do is change our police department in more crime analysis, crime data, where we getting information in and say, hey, this area is a hot spot. We're having more crimes, we're having more burglaries, we're having more shootings and more aggravated assaults or violent crimes. So what we want to do, in which we've already paid for it, but we're trying to integrate our CAD system, and that is pretty much our reporting management system, into what we have, and we've already purchased on it. And I spoke with the representative actually yesterday. It's TIP 411. TIP 411 will be a system integrated to our SkyCop cams, where it gives notifications to citizens throughout the city of Helena-West, Helena, to let them know, hey, at 98 Plaza, which I'm using this as an example, 98 Plaza Street, there was a homicide there. With this system of TIP 411, which all the citizens in Helena-West, Helena will have this app to give out a notification. So a person I use, for example, Mr. Valley. Mr. Valley would not be anonymous. He can send information and say, hey, I know the person, I seen him running down Plaza Street. It was Chief Smith. That information goes back to the police department, and we'll have those tips to be able to go back out there to say, okay, we need to look for Chief Smith. Not only with that, this integration system would also be transparent to the community, because it's not only about suspects and alerting them with different calls and integrating that system with our camera system, but it also alerts to the community that if an officer who is under bad behavior is out there and pulls somebody over and violating their civil rights, it also, that person can be anonymous and send a tip through tip 411 and say, hey, this police officer has did this to me. This person is out here violating my civil rights. That information also goes to tip 411 to alert everybody else. So it's the integrity of the whole system of not only just bringing in cameras to watch, because 24 hours, and I know the question may be asked, who's going to be monitoring this? Which I'm going to get to that. But it also gives the community to feel that the police department is just not one person's police department, but everybody is a part of the solution to give better safety into our community. But not only that, it can also show transparency where everybody feel that they're a part of a system to make their community better. Now, with the tip 411 system integrated into our SkyCop program, it also has a database called LexisNexis. So LexisNexis look at it like this. If you look at it on the standpoint, if a business come in, if Mr. Franklin wants to move his business downtown Cherry Street, he can go into this database and see what all the crimes is. It pinpoints, it has icons to show, hey, in the 400 block of Cherry Street, there has been 10 or 15 burglaries in that area. It also notifies and gives him the information that he feels that, hey, I don't need to probably move here. We probably need to move our police department into this area and put more focus on it. Our biggest problem is our city, and I'm just saying, is probably about 13.5 square miles. But even in that 13.5 square miles, we have to, instead of running around the city, we can just use crime mapping and crime analysis through both of these systems as integrated to be able to go in there and be more reactive and say, hey, we need to clean up this area, because our crime analysis, our crime mapping shows, with all these systems integrated, shows that, hey, we need to go here and we need to put more focus, concentration in those areas, because more police departments are looking at it. There's more prevention rather than intervention. So we come in, we take over that area, we do what we need to do to clean that area up and actually have intervention programs that we can come in there and rebuild those areas. So we have to build our police department, our community up to a 21st century police department. And with this system and with the help of the city council to start with phases, and it's not my idea, but having everybody say, hey, what do we need for this area? How do we need to do this? And it's not just the city council or the police department, but it's the community as a whole, churches, civic groups, or whomever, to go into that area and say, hey, we need this X amount of SkyCop cams because we're having problems right now. And no disrespect to anybody in the number groups or the number streets, we're having more problems in our number streets than anything in the city. Not saying that you don't have crime in Helena, but I think with this system and with the numbers, just bringing the numbers back to the city council and say, hey, in phase 3, this is what we're going to do, and just move forward on that, rather than saying, hey, we might need one trailer here with a SkyCop cam here or there. So I think this is a very tedious process that we all need to come together to be able to say, hey, we having these problems and we get the community to be involved in this, because we're going to have businesses, stakeholders, and individuals that can help out in this program. And this is just my personal opinion. It may not mean anything, but we need everybody to come together and say, hey, we have a crime problem. Police are ran back and forth. We having issues with this, but to look at the numbers, I think it'll be beneficial now. And as the old cliche says, we can pay for it now, or we can end up paying for it later. And with that being said, I'll yield the floor.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Mel.
I think you asked me a question earlier. This city council has already approved it. We don't have to go through the bidding. City council approved the grant beforehand. And going back, there's a couple of things, because Mr. Franklin called me, and I've met with Franklin about this several times. I met with the chief about it several times, and Mr. Etherly, independently. And one of the things that the discussion that came up, was Franklin first suggested it, and I talked to him about it. I talked to the chief about it. The monies that you all have not appropriated this year for police, I candidly think that you all should spend on, well, we need police, but I think you also should spend on one-time expenditures for the police department, things like sky cops and et cetera. If you're not gonna spend the money on a salary, then go ahead and make the investment this year on those type of things so you can make sure that you have them. The chief also talked to me about, the chief didn't mention tonight, but it's like if you just go and search Zillow or something like that, the system he's talking about, the integration between LexisNexis and the T411, when you do a home search, et cetera, that type of information is used for those as well. I think that whatever we can do to support the police department in this, we should do it. The issue with the polls, for those who are listening and don't understand, every city is having this problem. Entergy has a clause in their contract which provides that if you put this on their polls, then you're waiving your immunity. And not only waiving your immunity, that you will reimburse them for anything that happens on the poll. Someone get electrocuted, shot, is your liability. And so the municipal league, I advised the city not to sign it, and the municipal league advised as well. And there are many cities who are dealing with the same issue. So it's not just the city of Helena-West. And the mayor's correct in that the legislature is trying to get involved. There have been meetings with Entergy officials, and the mayor's correct also in saying that it's really one person that's holding it all up, and that's not to cast aspersion on anyone, but that's currently where we are, and it's something for every city. So it's not city of Helena-West Helena twiddling their thumbs and not trying to do anything. The city of Helena-West Helena, we want sky cops, we want the things done. I think it's just a matter of appropriation, and the council probably should go ahead and authorize the amendment, because other than that, it's going to be wasted money and wasted opportunity to get a grant, because Mayor Hollowell tried to get this done. Mayor Smith has tried to get it done, and Entergy is not budging. Other cities, municipal league has had attorneys that have been working, trying to get Entergy to get it done, and it has not come to fruition. And so the most expedient thing for us to do at this point is probably look at doing some mobile units until we can get some movement from Entergy and some assistance from the legislature and from Entergy on that. And so until then, I think that we'll have one strategy, and that is to invest in mobile equipment. I hope I answered all your questions.
I have a question.
You answered mine. Go
You
ahead.
answered my questions. That's great.
I got a question here. Mayor, I think that, like the money that we saved last year and the money we have in reserve, Chief stated this, that there would be, he wanted to get one. Mr. Turner, we do have the money. I think, Chief, help me if I'm incorrect. You said one is $52,000 for one mobile unit. You said that?
Yes, sir. With the Chief Smith, again, with one sky cop on the trailer, we're looking at $52,000, because they have to specialize in building it to our specs and our needs for our community.
Yes, sir. Well, now this is me, the city treasurer. That's about that's about $104,000 for two, right, city treasurer?
Yes.
Chief, I'm in favor of two of those, and then in the next 6 months, we can come back and try to get two more, because we're a gateway city. It's many ways in, it's many ways out. And some nights we can set up, that would help us out we need 5 at least to set. This is a gate city where people can get in, just like the red lights were out. That would help take care of that. We have outages and with the lights, and you're gonna have festivals again. So we can charge the festival for using that. I would like to do 2 of those, so to help out. And then, Chief, you also said that you were gonna tell us who would monitor. So I guess that we would have to start looking at an officer and what would the salary be for an officer or to be in dispatch to see if they could monitor those for the community, because like you said, it's gonna be a 24-hour thing. They have to watch it for 24 hours. So I would like to see you package that up, but I'm in favor. And let us go on record that City Attorney, do I need to make a motion to approve 2 instead of 1? And
Can I don't mean to cut you off, Mr. Franklin. Can I add something to that?
Yes, sir.
We actually want the community involved in this. And I remember back when the late Reverend Mike Wilkie was in, and we're talking about Crime Stoppers. One thing that we wanted to do, we want our community to feel like this is your town. This is not Chief Smith town. This is all of ours. So we need to get volunteers, people who are trained on the system, individuals who want to do Crime Stoppers, because information coming in, because this tip 411 is just not for the police department. Under the tip 411 that we just purchased, there's apps that if Street and Sanitation Director Jones have a flood in a certain area, it alerts them. If sanitation says that we can't pick up the garbage at this time, it alerts our people. We need to get this information out to our community soon. They need to understand that we have to work together to solve some of these problems. So we talk about the mandate. One thing as effective as today, the 911 system will be moved from the Helena-West Helena Police Department to the Justice Complex. That means that the county will be over the 911 system. And we don't believe in people losing jobs, but we'll have 2 to 3 dispatchers nightly, which we already have, that can sit up there and monitor it. But if we want the integrity of it, we can either have an officer who can coordinate that and monitor that and have documentation that, hey, Mr. Franklin say, hey, on Anderson Street in 7th, this happened. I need to see the report on that. That person can be able to get you the report, and also the logistics of that indication of something happened there. It alerts the whole community, including you, Mr. Franklin. So we need to look at it as a part of the community saying, okay, enough is enough. We want to do this. And we actually have volunteers that we properly train. We put them up under a Crime Stoppers committee and have those volunteers come into the Helena-West Helena Police Department, which is monitored by a certified officer who we set up as a coordinator by the vote of the city council to bring this person in to say, okay, you are responsible for monitoring our volunteers and making sure the integrity of this being able to go to court is correct. So we want to try to get everybody involved. The city is suffering of trying to getting resources and money to come into the city to pay people and creating jobs. Yeah, we want to create jobs, but right now we got to get our crime down. We got to be able to do that. So we have to have creative solutions, as Mr. Etherly starting the police committee, and which I think is great, not having a police officer on there and have these talks. And maybe we can get some of these people who are stakeholders, business owners, to contribute, not only the city, but to contribute to say, hey, my property is valuable and I want to support it and we want to raise money. All throughout the city, the state and all throughout the nation, such as Memphis, Little Rock, New Orleans, who have Skycop cams, if a community, say if it's, and I'm just using this as an example, Waverly Woods say, hey, we want Skycops here. We set up a neighborhood association, and neighborhood association contributes $20,000, $30,000 into this program with the matching money from these grants, and the city contributed $5,000, $10,000 to pay for this equipment. It should not just be on the city government, but if we want public safety, everybody got to contribute into that. And with that, I yield the floor.
I think we have some other questions.
Man, I was just asking, city. See, he said it's gonna be, like I said, it's gonna be $104,000 to get two, and I think we can, Mr. Treasurer, do we have that amount to cover that, to get two sky cams, and in the next 6 months try to budget for two more? I understand he said we need public participation, but the public has endured enough, and I want to make a start, and tonight is the night to make a start. If can we afford to do, he said one, but can we afford to do two, to give the matching money to go ahead, because there's a waiting list to go ahead and do this. Do we have the funds available? I know a couple weeks ago we had $1.2 million. So I know we should be able to get two tonight. And if you say we can, I'd like to make that in the form of a motion.
Yeah, Mr. Franklin, you have enough in unused appropriations to make those appropriations, and with some of the CARES Act money, we can purchase those sky cops.
Yes,
I'll
sir.
second
Well,
that motion, Mr. Franklin.
Thank you, Mr. St. Clair. But before, Mr. Turner, also city clerk as well. In the next 6 months, city treasurer, if something changes, we don't hire people, let's earmark another $52,000 for one more for the next 6 months, and 6 months after, let's earmark another $52,000. So before the end of the year, we can at least get two more before the end of the year.
That'd be a total of 4.
Yes, sir. It'd be 5 with what we have now, Mr. St. Columbia. And if the public would like to chip in, that's fine. But right now, the public has endured enough. People always said that what the city council is not doing, but tonight we're taking a stance to get 2 more, so that we can have them when the lights go out. The chief already explained. Chief, thank you for your explanation on these, but I see we need to get 2. And Mr. Turner, I would like to answer that. Do you can see that we can afford 3 at this time, or I'm pushing it?
I would just keep it where it is right now, Mr.
Okay.
Franklin.
But in 6 months, I want you all to put that back so we can run that back again, because that's the only way the community gonna feel safe. I understand that we got officers hired. So, well, let me get that out the way. Okay. There's a motion in a second.
Okay, all right. We've got a motion and a second on the floor. Just a point of clarification with Mr. Valley. You said on the grant that we're doing, we don't have to waive bidding because we've already approved it. So we can go ahead and change the grant application to reflect.
If the council, yes, sir. If the council votes on it, you're just amending something you've already approved. You already approved the process for doing the grant. And if they go ahead and vote on it, then you're fine.
So do you feel like on this motion, we're okay if we include that grant in this motion and an additional sky cop? Are we able to do that tonight?
You can vote on it now. The vote that Mr. Franklin has right now, we would have to waive bidding on it. But Skycop is kind of specialized. I don't know how many competitors you would have on that actual thing. I think they're the nation's leader in this, but I'm not for certain on that. Chief may know factually more about the cameras on the pole than I would. But out of abundance of caution, we probably have to come back at next meeting and do a waiver of competitive bidding on it, on the way Mr. Franklin has it done now.
Can we include, hold on just a second. Can we include in this motion on the one sky cop, if it's approved, that be all we need on that one for the grant?
Yes, I think if Mr. Franklin would amend his motion to say that he approves the move that we change the Skycop from 2 to 1 for the purpose of the grant, and that he wants to purchase a second one, then and Ms. St. Clair amends his motion, amends his second, then you could do that, but I still would have to bring back the competitive bid waiver next meeting. But that'll get the process started.
That was my question. Thank you, Mr. Valley.
Mr. Mayor, in light of what Mr. Valley said, I can't remember all what he said, but so I move in the terms that he just used to get this done, separate the grant, Sky Cop, as he mentioned, and we can go from there. So if Mr. St. Columbia amends his if you take a second.
I'm going to take a stab at this. Mr. Valley, tell me if I say this incorrectly. The motion is to approve a change in the grant application with USDA to reflect one mobile Skycop, and in addition, a second Skycop at which time bidding requirements have been met.
And I'll
Is
second.
that a suitable way to say that, Mr. Valley?
Yes, and I'll bring back the competitive waiver on the second one.
Okay, so hopefully we understand the motion. Mr. St. Columbia seconded the motion. Are there any questions or comments about the motion? If not, call the roll.
St. Columbia,
Yes.
Franklin,
Yes.
Crockett, Davis,
Yes.
Ford, Etherly.
Yes.
That's 4 yes.
Great. Motion passes. Thank you very much for that motion and for passing it. And also we will, I guess, Mr. Valley, we'll get that ordinance for waiving bid on the second Skycop ready for the next council meeting.
Yes,
And
sir.
Mr.
I'll do that.
And Mr. Mayor and Mr. Valley and members of the council also, let's try to get this straight. We already have the grant that's already been approved. You've already approved the matching money is actually 3. We're saying 2, but it's actually 3 right now. So I would have those logistics of how we're gonna amend the grant to make those 3 to 1 Skycop cam, and we can make a move on for us getting everything, all the logistics for us, the gunshot reader, gunshot recognition, and the tag reader added to that. And I'll bring that forth to the council on the next meeting.
But I think Mr. Valley's saying we just approved that, didn't we?
Yeah, you talked about all that in it. You just amended it to give you authority to go ahead and change it. They've already approved the money. The only thing you needed that approval to do on that grant was to change it from 3 to 1.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, I
and
just
so
wanted to make it clear because we constantly saying 2, sir, for us. We
Right, I
actually
understand.
have 3. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I understand, but it's one with all the bells and whistles at this point.
Yes, sir.
And
Thank y'all.
the stationary ones had the bells and whistles included too, just in case anybody wondered. All right,
Thank
great. Thank you, Chief, and
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
members of the council. So, and we'll bring that up again, and Mr. Valley, and Mr. Turner. And we'll bring that, unfortunately, we get to skip the next item on the agenda. We had originally hoped that Jones Hydro Services would be available to discuss it, and they're not able to. We have a lot of other water issues to discuss, and the basic we have a lot of problems to talk about. I think since Mr. Jones couldn't make it tonight, that we might ought to have a special called meeting. And I know everybody cringes when I say that, including me, but it's an extremely important meeting or extremely important issue. And we might have to do one and I don't know if we can get away with doing it by Thursday or not, but we need to do one pretty quickly because we have, the short version is a pump went out at the Helena plant on Sunday that caused such a reduction of pressure when just as we thought we were starting to restore water and pressure. It was an older pump that Mr. Ross had recommended that we replace way back in 2017. And, we didn't have the funds then. The funds are available now. Well, that's something we're still trying to identify that really you should know before we address it anyway. So that's another reason to have a special call meeting. And then there's some pumps in West Helena that need work on by John's Hydro Services. So I won't belabor it any longer, except to say that we really do need to have a special call meeting just on the water issue. We have a lot of things to address, and we need a lot of people at the meeting, not just me. And we definitely would need Mr. Jones there tonight. He wasn't able to make it. So if we can get all the parties to agree, as well as the council, and we're in compliance with public meeting laws, according to Mr. Valley's direction on that, then we need to have a meeting as soon as we can do it legally and get everybody there, I guess is what I'm saying. And
Yeah,
it's a much bigger discussion. Can we do it Thursday if we can get everybody there?
I'm unavailable Thursday, but I've already prepared all the documents that you requested for competitive bid and waiver. You just have to have 2 hours notice, Mr. Mayor. For FOI purposes, it's 2 hours notice.
And you certain, well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the ordinance. You can definitely approve that tonight, but Mr. Jones couldn't show up, and in order to, and really there are more issues. They probably should all be addressed in the same meeting so that you get the breadth and depth of it. I'm gonna try to get him here Thursday. Is there a time Thursday that's better?
Well, I have court all day. I have court here and then the court in parking. Then I have a meeting that I'll be at after court at parking. So I'll be, and then I have a meeting Thursday night. So I'll be unavailable all day. However, I could be available by text or something like that relating to it. But I think it's really just you want them to approve the expenditure. I've already prepared the ordinance for you to waive competitive bid and approve the expenditure. It's just a matter of whether they want to approve it.
Well, one of the issues is that to make sure that the pumps that we're talking about are the pumps Mr. Jones has identified and others have identified in the priority. So
I'm available tomorrow, but I have Bible study at 6:30, so it has to be before then. But I'm available tomorrow.
Well, maybe we could shoot for 5:30. I don't know how long it needs to be. I guess that depends. Or maybe 5 o'clock. I don't know. I don't want to keep everybody on that. Mr. Valley, we can talk some more tomorrow and get with Ms. Ramsey and see what we can come up with, if that's okay. But I think it.
Yes, sir. That's fine.
A bigger conversation because there's some really serious pressing issues that are more than just this one ordinance that it really ought to be all addressed to the council in whole if possible. So I'll go to work on that. I would prefer you to be there, but and I know we're going to need ordinances and besides just this one. So
okay, that's fine.
We're going to pass over that. I do want to move on. I don't want to pass over Mr. Patterson's interim salary. Jeff Patterson, as y'all know, took over as interim acting water manager approximately two weeks ago, and it's been a pretty tough time to take over as acting general manager of the water department. He came on in the middle of the West Helena emergency, and then, as you all know, we had the snow, the record winter temperatures and snowfall and ice, and the crisis in the Helena plant. So Mr. Patterson has worked around the clock for several weeks and very diligently through 2 bull orders, which is pretty unprecedented. And thanks to some quick work on behalf of everybody, we avoided a complete shutdown of the Helena system. And I don't mean for a few hours or days. We're talking, it could have been weeks. It could have been weeks to recover from that. People not just having to be on the bull order, but to be without water. And I can't exaggerate enough just how big an emergency that was in Helena in this past weekend with the winter storm. And other cities, 20 some odd other cities, at least around Arkansas, plus MLG and W and Memphis and many others, all had to shut down and all had problems. Some of them continue to, which is one reason Mr. Jones couldn't come. He's got a lot of customers ahead of us, more customers than he thought he would, his company would have. And that's one of the reasons we don't have him here tonight. But at any rate, Mr. Patterson, though, has done an excellent job. He filled in at a difficult time. And I'm asking the council if they would approve Mr. Patterson receiving, as have other acting general managers in the past, the general manager's salary, which, and Mr. Turner, correct me if I'm mistaken, as I could be, and it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 66,000. Is that right? And again, I'm putting you on the spot.
The base pay for that position is 62,000.
62,000. So my request to, and I guess you could still make it 66. I can't remember what we did for the last acting general manager, but I believe it was the same pay that the general manager who retired was making, not the base pay. But I'll leave that decision up to the council also. I'd recommend the 66 because he deserves it. He's worked extremely hard, and I've been very impressed with his work. And again, he could not have taken over at a more challenging time. We had people in the room who've been doing this in the water business for 20 or 30 years who said they'd never seen anything like it. And cities all over the, as I said, all over the state and region and country, and certainly the South, had to deal with this. We avoided catastrophe. As difficult it was almost a lot worse. And we avoided that fate that many other cities avoided, but it was a very close call. We couldn't have done it without Mr. Patterson. Both West Helena and Helena. West Helena was also very close in that storm, and people don't realize how close we were. But the only reason we didn't get in the same shape in West Helena as Helena really is because we didn't have a singular event like that pump shutting down. But we could have, and we would have been in the same shape. But anyway, he's done a good job, and so that's my request for the council. I'll be glad to take any questions.
Mr. Mayor, I know I've been on the road tonight with questions, but Mr. Mayor, now I was in your office a couple of days ago, and there was a letter in our box, and I don't know. I gave it to Miss Halbert to give to you on what was in that letter, and I don't want to. I know you said you recommend it, but I don't. I think he should stay where he is. In the middle of a water crisis, it showed where he was. In the middle of a water crisis, it showed where that person was. I'm not going to go into detail, and I have shared with other members of the council that in the middle of a water crisis, where that individual was. And if you say he's good, then the council needs to, I got the letter in my box. I'm pretty sure other members of the council got that letter. I'm not for that. The letter was sent to my home address and what is my box. No, it wasn't sent to my home. It was sent in a packet and at City Hall. Mayor, you know, I did not give that letter to Ms. Halbert that I got out of my box. I gave it to Ms. Halbert to give to you to show you what somebody had told me.
Are you talking about the anonymous letter that went around?
Yeah. I mean, it was mailed to the city, to me. When I was in City Hall last week, I said I don't need this. I'm not his supervisor, and I know what I saw during the middle of a water crisis. So you know, I mean, you know, you have your way. That's your employee, and I'm over the finances. I'm not in favor of that because in the middle of a water crisis, you were out on a lake fishing, and it's not what I've heard. That's what I saw. So no, and I mean, I have no disrespect to him. But I saw this, and I called a city official and told him. I said, look, this is what's going on, because you know I don't dislike him. You say he's doing a good job, then I don't evaluate him and none of that. But I know what I saw, and I cannot and will not give not one dime. So you know that's just me, and I'm not running anything. I'm just a one vote. I know where I saw him at. And if we're gonna hold people accountable, then other people have been held accountable. So here we
Well,
are.
Mr. Franklin, the only thing is when somebody doesn't sign a letter, by definition, they are not willing themselves to be held accountable. And so I don't take anonymous letters very seriously. They all end up in the trash can. I get a lot of them from time to time. And true or not, if a person's not, they don't have the character to stand behind it enough to sign it, then I don't give it any merit. I can tell you that he and I guess I'd have to read it again. I don't remember anybody making any suggestions or allegations that he was anywhere but on the job. I mean, he rested. I mean, we all had to rest at some point, but he was the most tireless one of our whole team during both the West Helena and the Helena crisis. And everybody has free time. I don't know. He didn't have much of it, and I'm not aware of him. I can tell you this: every time I've needed him, the last 3 weeks, he's been there, anytime, day or night. And we had one night on Friday night that lasted until 4 in the morning. He was there until 4 in the morning. So I'm not comfortable giving any credence to anybody not willing to stand behind what they say. It means their word is literally meaningless. Literally meaningless, because they're not even willing to stand behind it themselves. Why would anybody else pay any credence to it? I would ask the council, if you've seen that sort of thing, to disregard it, because it's certainly, of course, when personnel matters, there are always jealousies, envies, and y'all, that's something you all are familiar with. But it's even more important to require people to be on the record if they make an allegation about somebody. And I'm not aware of anybody who's been on the record about anything with Mr. Patterson. I can tell you my own experience, and I can also tell you we're not personal friends. In fact, we haven't been on the same side of some issues since I've been mayor. I say this strictly from my experience with him, particularly the last several weeks. He's done a remarkable job and a commendable job. And he's done the job of general manager. I think he ought to be paid. So that'd be my response to Mr. Franklin.
Well,
Any
man,
other comments? Just a minute, Mr. Franklin. You got to let other people have a chance to talk or ask questions. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay. Well, I would ask for a motion to approve Mr. Patterson after the salary that was being paid, the same salary that was being paid for the position when he took over, which, as I understand it, was $66,000. Until such time a decision is made on the general manager permanently, and that position, I think we just opened up today for advertisement. So as I told him, and I've told everybody, nobody has a guarantee of getting that position. We will advertise, we'll interview. Council will be part of that process. It's a department head decision. So, certainly will be consulted. But that just started today. In the meantime, you have to have a general manager run things. And he's been doing it and doing it quite well under very strenuous and stressful circumstances. So I would entertain a motion that we pay him the salary that we were paying when he took over.
Mr. Mayor, now this is just a temporary payment, is that right? So it's during an interim.
It's the last only as long as he is interim. If he were to apply, and I don't know that he is, but if he does apply for the general manager position and he's selected, I mean, we're advertising at base pay, right?
Yeah.
So,
but he's gonna be doing the job. He's gonna be doing the job.
In the meantime, he's doing it right now. Yeah.
I'll make the motion then that we go ahead and pay him the job. He'll do it. I so move.
Mr. Franklin, let me make some motion that we set Mr. Patterson's salary interim for the time that he is interim only. Beginning when he became, I want to make that this clear, beginning when he became interim and lasting until he is no longer interim at the current general manager's salary. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Headley seconds the motion. Are there any other questions or comments about the motion? Ms. Ramsey?
I have a question, Mayor. What salary did you say? I'm sorry, I didn't.
But the motion said at the salary that is being paid when he took over, and I believe that would be 62 is the base salary. So whoever the advertisement for that salary and whoever takes over that salary would be 62, unless the council decided otherwise. But the interim position would be, what I said in my motion at the time, that at the pay of the general manager at the time he took over. So the general manager was making only for the time he's interim. And that salary, I believe, was 66, 65, or was it 62, Mr. Turner?
It was 63,860.
63,860.
He paid the numbers over there.
63,860. Yeah.
So, but what are you asking for?
Just that we pay
63.
Mr. Patterson for the time that he has been general manager, acting general manager, and only for the time that he is acting general manager, that salary. If he chooses to apply and he's selected, then it would be at base pay, which is 62.
Oh. Well, wait a minute. So what you're proposing is that he make more than what he would make what the previous general manager made, which would be more than base pay.
Well, if 63 is what it was, that's not much more. So if you want to make it at base pay, we can make it base pay.
I think it has to be a base. I think it has to be a base pay, because if you do it on that basis, you create a permanent loophole where a person can take a position as an interim and then they circumvent base pay. So it's got to be minimum.
Yeah, that's.
The only reason I said that is because that's what we did for the last interim. But
I didn't realize that. I mean,
that's
I would.
okay. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal with me. I'll amend the motion to say that the motion is to pay Mr. Patterson the general manager's salary while he is interim, and only for the time he is interim from beginning to finish at the base pay rate.
And that would be
Does
at the
that
base
work?
pay. Yeah, that'd be right. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification. Motion and second. Any other questions or comments?
Okay, I just had one more question now. The other interims that we've had, is this the same thing that we've been doing? Are we giving them the salary that the base pay salary for the director's positions? Have we been doing that?
The only one I can think of,
I know we had fire. Pretty sure we probably had.
I don't remember on fire. It's a good question. Maybe somebody else remembers.
Ms. Davis, the last water director, when they took over, when they had an interim, the former director was only making 62.
Okay.
And so when we had the fire chiefs, they were making base pay plus whatever the Port Authority was putting in. So
For interim?
Yeah. Well, not for the interim. When
That's what I'm talking about.
yeah.
I'm asking about for interim.
Yeah, when Chief Brown was fire chief, he was making the base pay.
That's
And
right.
the water department, the 62,000, that's what they were still at base pay.
And that's what this is going to be on, based on the base pay.
That's a good question.
I remember when Kevin McCormick
I just
came
think we
in.
need to stay in suit, whatever we do.
I'm sorry, I didn't make that out.
I think she said she just wants you to be consistent with whatever you do.
Exactly.
I
There's
think
a-
Mr. Ethel's point is a very salient point. I think that the loophole that he identified, I think you have to do it at base pay because loophole you identified. If he applies for the job, he already has it. He's already above base pay, so he would start out technically at a higher rate than base pay because you wouldn't lower him if he becomes the actual water supervisor, water manager. So I think you have to start at base pay. You start everybody else at base pay. So
Yeah, I think that's right. That's a fun thing. I didn't realize it was approximately the same anyway. So I appreciate the correction and clarification. So, and yeah, Ms. Davis, we should be consistent for a lot of reasons, I imagine.
Right, and for clarity of the minutes, this is just while he serves as interim. If he does not become the water general manager, then his salary reverts to his other salary. That's part of the motion. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, that's a good clarification also. That's correct, but only for the time as an interim.
Mr. Valley? Mr. Valley, Ms. Ramsey has a question.
Yes, ma'am.
As interim director at 60, whatever it is, base pay, is he exempt from overtime?
I believe that he would be once he takes that position. He's above the federal statute. Mr. Turner, would you concur with that?
Yeah, the base pay ordinance stipulates that all department heads would be exempt employees.
Okay, thank you.
Another good question. Any other questions or comments before we vote? All right, if not, Ms. Ramsey, call the roll.
St. Columbia,
Yes.
Franklin,
No.
Crockett, Davis, Ford, Etherly,
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
I have 3 yes, 2 absent, 1 no.
I'll vote yes.
Okay. So that's 4 yes.
So motion passes. Thank you very much for that. And again, we do have a lot of other issues to talk about on water, and I think it merits a special meeting and a little more preparation to make sure everybody is on that meeting that can help answer the questions. The next item on the agenda is resolution for racial equity. Ms. Cottom's had a conflict tonight.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, the resolution is exactly as the city of Little Rock. Ms. Collins wanted to talk about it. You've previously passed one, but this is in support of the legislation that's currently going through the Arkansas legislature, and it's just a resolution saying you support it. It's consistent with what you've done, but it's a newer version of what you've done.
So what this does basically is ask the legislature, which is meeting in session now, specifically to support the enactment of the sentence enhancement for hate crimes, which is in Senate Bill 3 and HB 1020, sponsored by Senator Jim Hendren and Representative Frederick Love. And the city of Little Rock approved the exact same language other than it said City of Little Rock, right, Mr. Valley? Is that right?
Correct, Mr. Mayor. Correct.
So really,
The only thing we
different-
changed, the only thing changed is
The
the city as well as city council versus board of directors. So those are the only 2 changes in it.
So, and to be more clear on that, what we passed as a city dealt with misdemeanors, right? Because that's all we can really do.
Correct.
And the one before the committee and the legislature deals with felonies and pretty much all state crimes, which are most capital crimes, right?
That's correct.
So in other words, it's a resolution to ask the legislature to support that. And Ms. Collins sends her regrets for not being able to make it, but the Equity Task Force approved referring this to the council for approval. Are there any questions? Is there a motion to adopt the resolution? And what resolution number would this be?
Number 3.
Is there a motion? Okay. Who
Joe,
said that?
I'll make the motion.
Who made the motion? I'm sorry.
I made the motion that we'll approve it.
Mr. St. Columbia moves the adoption of resolution number 3. Is there a second?
We already had a motion, Mayor. I made the motion to approve it.
I was asking who made it. I couldn't hear. So you made the motion?
Yes, I did. We hear what we want to hear.
Well, I didn't hear you. So Mr. Franklin says he makes the motion. Is that okay with you, Mr. St. Columbia?
Yes, sir. I'll second it. If there's no second,
Mr. St. Columbia seconds the motion. Are there any other questions or comments about the motion? Have not called roll.
Etherly,
Yes.
Franklin,
Yes.
St. Columbia,
yes,
Davis, Frank. Rock. Forward. Have 2 yes.
I'm sorry.
I said-
Oh, Ms.
I was
Davis,
off.
yes.
Yes, I was trying to get back in. Yes.
Okay, Franklin.
Yes.
Okay, that's 4 yes. Thank you.
Resolution passes. Thank you. All right, and then the next item on the agenda, I know it's getting late. Approval of invoices from lift truck equipment for repairs to landfill. That this is what we talked about at the last meeting. I didn't feel comfortable signing these checks, and I didn't feel comfortable answering questions about it either. So I believe both Director Jones and our landfill manager, Reggie Wilson, is on the line to answer questions or to discuss it. Does either one of you want to go first? Either one of you, just speak up. Mr. Wilson, Mr. Jones? I don't know Mr. Jones on here. I saw Mr. Wilson
Yes,
earlier.
I'm here. I'm here also.
Okay, y'all want to go ahead and discuss this? I didn't have enough knowledge about it, honestly, the last meeting.
Okay, Bobby Jones with Public Works. What we had was a excavator that sank down in some mud. I guess during the time we had this rain come in, and it caused a lot of damage to that excavator. We have an account with Lyft truck service, and usually when we got emergency, they come down and do the work, repair the excavator, and then go ahead on bill us for it later. What happened? This bill ended up being, I think, if I'm not mistaken, $12,000 some, and it's a piece of equipment that we had to get fixed. But they supposed to change that price. I spoke with them today, and they supposed to go ahead on and waive some of the fees on it. And he's supposed to get back with me tomorrow. I'm asking that y'all go ahead on and if you want to wait, you can wait. But if you want to go ahead on pass it, but now it's your call.
Mr. Wilson, do you want to add to that?
Well, the situations that we have out at the landfill typically is because, you know, we're going to get charged extra by these folks because they don't have none of this equipment. We have $500,000 pieces of equipment out there that these mechanics can't work on without laying on the tarp in the mud. So we really need a shop out there
for them to work on this stuff properly. These mechanics come and work on this stuff, and we're going to have breakdowns on this stuff. We got decent equipment out at the landfill, but when the mechanics come and work on the stuff, they have to put a tarp on the ground to work on this stuff.
So, Mr. Wilson, what you saying? Yeah, we need to get y'all something out there, like a concrete slab or something like that.
We need a shop building put out there to work on it, to work on this equipment and maintain it properly.
And we addressed this, I think, about a month ago at the council meeting.
This is my first time hearing, but Mr. Wilson, Mr. Jones, I would like to wait until he brings, till he see what he's gonna knock off the bill. Mr. Wilson and Mr. Jones, you all can sit down with the mayor and you all can try to figure out how much it would cost to build a shop out there. And if we can come up with it, the landfill makes money. So I'm in favor of doing whatever I need to do to help y'all. But I'd like to wait until we get to get the bill to see how much we're gonna save. It's $12,000. And Mr. Jones, you said he gonna come off the bill soon?
Yeah, that's what he said. It wasn't no promise. He was gonna try. But
Okay,
either way it goes, if he can't get it done while we're here tonight, or whatever it end up being less, we're gonna go ahead on and y'all gonna go ahead on agree to pay it tonight. I mean, it can't get no worse, but go down.
Well, I mean, if it's gonna go down, I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to wait on that. I'm just one person.
Well,
I'm willing to wait.
Well, Mr. Franklin, that excavator was stuck in the mud. They had to replace a bunch of O-rings. They had to replace all the filters because it was stuck so deep that you got water in all of these different filters on this excavator. You had the hydraulic system to the excavator's arm that went out, and they had to replace seals and stuff in this. Now, this landfill has low and high spots, and you have to keep the low spots to keep the water drainage correct out at the landfill. And this excavator got stuck, and we had to get a tow service to come and pull this thing out, which was Moon's Record Service. It was stuck so deep that the machinery, the other excavator that we had out there, and the dozers couldn't pull it out. So we had to get somebody to pull it out. So it like I say, in order for us to maintain this equipment properly, you got several pieces of $500,000 worth of equipment out here that has to sit out in the weather, which makes no sense. Makes no sense. It's been snowed, we had ice storms, and all of this equipment is out in the weather. And if this equipment is to be maintained properly, we need the shop building out there. We need a shop building. We need proper roads out there. You got to spend some money to make some money. Point blank.
Mr. Wilson, one of the things about it, you talked to me and Mr. Turner about that, and you're telling the council about it down tonight. As it relates to that, is that a part of the overall plan for? Have you talked to Mr. Fields about that, the engineer at the landfill? Because we talked about the roads, we didn't talk about this in particular, the repair shop, but we talked about the citizens' convenience where we could dump trash out there separately. Is that something you want the council to look at further? Because tonight, the only thing on it is these two issues as to whether they're going to pay for it, whether they're going to weigh bidding on these issues. But I think we need a fuller proposal about what you're talking about. But this evening, I think we're only addressing those two invoices. I think that's what we're talking about. But I think we need a report from the engineer and from you as to what we need to do going forward so we can get it done.
Yes, I have talked with Mr. Fields, and he's working on a report and I'm working on a report also. It's several things that need to be done out there to keep us from losing our customers. So it's several things that needs to be done out there. It's a situation where a lot of stuff has gone neglected and we need to right the wrongs.
So let me just say real quickly, the tire program has changed with East Arkansas Solid Waste District. And now Pulaski County is picking up our tires. And part of the agreement was that they would pay for a concrete slab at the landfill on which to put tires. And the conversation I had with Mr. Fields and others is that when that happens, it's going to be cheaper for us to add to that concrete slab or even pour another slab somewhere else, as long as they're out there at the same time for a shop building. And I think we've gotten an estimate from Delk, I believe. Is that the only estimate we've gotten so far? Delk, I believe.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And so it was pretty high, but we're trying to get competing estimates. And at the same time, kind of monitoring, and Mr. Fields also monitoring, the commitment they have on the one concrete slab. So when they come to build that, that's supposed to be paid for by Pulaski County's solid waste folks in East Arkansas Solid Waste District. We won't have to pay for any of it. But when they come, we'll get a cheaper price if we do our own slab, either adjacent to that one or somewhere else in the landfill at the same time. So on the other hand, if it takes too long, we might not be able to wait. But we are getting some estimates. We've gotten at least one on the shop building. We absolutely agree with Mr. Wilson. We need a better shop building. We need a concrete slab on that building, the building sits upon, and then we need, if we can afford it, we need really a paved road is what we really need.
Well, that paved road, we're going to have to do that. I mean, because you got your Forest City account. When it rains, they don't come out there. So they going somewhere else. They went a whole week and a half not coming to see us once behind this rain. So that's very important, building a road out there. That's our most important thing we need to get done before anything get done out there. We need a road out there at that landfill. Even with our equipment, city equipment, we messing our trucks up going out there.
Yeah.
And I know what the customer's going through. But
so we built a wet weather dumping area last year before the new cell was open, but we had to
close it.
We had to remove it. Well, we had to move that ourselves, but it was sort of a compromise.
And they recommend it now. They recommend it right now. We back in that spot dumping again temporarily because we can't get in the back. And they recommend I talked to Mr. Field, me and Reginald yesterday. Mr. Field, he gave us the okay to go on dump, but just quick as the weather break, I think he called this morning saying we need to hurry up and get it moved.
And I don't need to tell the city council, I don't think, but that's where the garbage ends up that we pick up in our own city. So, and you can imagine how far we got behind during this week long, and not only us, but all of our customers in 3 counties.
Yes,
and
sir.
a few others got behind.
Exactly.
So when they start coming, they come fast and furious and tend to tear up what we do have. So it is a critical problem. I want to acknowledge all of that. Having said that, what do y'all want to do on the base? I mean, on the lift truck equipment invoices that are in front of you and the ordinances and bidding ordinances in front of you regarding those 2 invoices?
Well, one of them was already voted on there. The other one the council had already approved. It's the one for this excavator that just got stuck about a month or so ago.
So we have one ordinance proposed for 14,383 and another one.
Yeah, it
for
was already passed. It might have went over a couple more $1,000 because they had to order a wire harness and all that after they had got done with it to, you know, to get it going. But y'all had already approved that. I think it was for 12 or probably 11 or $12,000 y'all had approved. So it went over another $1,000 some for that $14,000 invoice. And I'm like, Derek, he familiar with it. You know, we brought it in front of the council. The council approved it. The one that didn't get approved though was one for the $12,000.
Are they talking about reducing both of them or just one of them?
No, just that one. And like I say, that's the reason I'm asking the council to go ahead on and try to pass it tonight. Cause whatever it goes down to, like if it do go down, you know, that's what we'll pay. Cause I don't want us just sitting back holding these debt, man. And you know, I don't want to do that. I like to pay the debt. They done the service, man. I like to go ahead on and pay them. We ain't got to be in no rush to pay them tomorrow, but you know.
Go ahead.
We do have 30 days to pay them, Ms. Franklin. So it's an open account we have with Lyft.
See, but
that 30 days just about over with.
I'm just opening it up for questions or conversations.
But if you're saying he's gonna get reduction of bill,
pardon me?
If you say Mr. Jones, he's gonna get reduction of bill.
He said Mr. Frank. He said he's gonna try. He said he's gonna try. But yeah, but still, what I'm saying, Mr. Frank, I'm agreeing. We ain't got to pay the 12, whatever it is. If he can't do it, we didn't got this out the way. You know, it can't. We ain't gonna agree to pay nothing more.
What's the other part that you're looking for? Is it 2 bills or 1 bill?
Well, it's just this $12,000. Cause like I said, y'all passed the other one. That's when we changed the motor out of that other those that was setting up there, the Aljon. Y'all had approved it.
You hadn't waived competitive bidding on it though. So you still would have to do that ordinance. They approved it, told me to bring back the ordinance. So you still have to do that ordinance on Aljon. And so they would have to adopt that ordinance waiving competitive bidding on the Aljon. They're two separate ordinances.
Yeah. I think it went over $1,000 some for the amount y'all had first approved.
Madam Clerk, do you have the ordinance on the Aljon? What's the number for that one?
That's the 14,000, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah. It's gonna be 5.
Okay, y'all already approved the Aljon. We just need to approve the competitive bidding waiver on the Aljon. Mr. Mayor, if you will allow me, is there a motion to suspend the rules, place it on the third and final reading the title only on ordinance number 5 to 2021 is relating to the Aljon, which you all already approved?
So Mr. Valley is asking for a motion to approve ordinance number 5 to waive competitive bidding on the purchase of the, I'm sorry, on the repairs for Aljon. Who said that? I'm sorry. Who made them? We're having a hard time. Does anybody else know who made that motion?
Mr. Franklin.
Mr. Franklin. Mr. Franklin.
Yeah, Mr. Franklin made a.
He made a motion to adopt ordinance number 5, or no, to put it on third and final reading.
Yes.
Yes, and read the title.
Second.
Ms. Davis seconds the motion to put it on third and final reading. Any questions or comments If not, call roll.
Davis,
Yes.
St. Columbia, Franklin, Etherly,
Yes.
Franklin. I only have 2 yes.
Yes.
I'll vote yes.
Oh, Franklin said yes. Okay, that gives me 4.
That motion, so the next motion is the final reading and adoption of ordinance number 5. Is that right, Mr. Valley? You're on mute. You're on
I'm
mute.
sorry, I need to read it first. Ordinance number 5-2021, an ordinance waiving the building in accordance with Arkansas Code. Annotated section 1458-303, authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract to repair certain equipment for the city of Helena-West for other related purposes. Now you need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second,
Who made the motion? I'm sorry. I can't hear. you.
Franklin.
Mr. Franklin.
Franklin made the motion. Ms. Davis seconded the motion. Final reading and adoption of ordinance number 5. Any other questions or comments? If not, call roll.
Etherly,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Franklin,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
4 yes.
There is an emergency clause on this.
Yes.
Mr.
Yes, is there a motion just to adopt the emergency clause?
So move.
Ms. Davis makes adoption of the emergency clause for ordinance number 5. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Franklin seconds the motion.
Second.
Any other questions or comments about the motion? If not, call roll.
Etherly,
Yes.
Franklin,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
4 yes.
This motion, ordinance number 5, emergency clause is passed. Thank you very much. So I guess the only question left on this part of the agenda is the 12,687.56. Any other comments or questions on that? Mr. Jones and Mr. Wilson. And that is the, to get it unstuck. Basically. Is there a motion to adopt what?
Mayor, I think we have a practical issue. I just went back and did the math. I thought Mr. St. Columbia was still online. You don't have 2/3 vote because we only have 57%. We only have 66. So we can't waive this. We can't waive it. You need 2/3 vote.
Did we lose it?
You lost a council member, Joe St. Columbia.
So who we got?
Because when you're added in, we have to add you in the number, so you make 57%, not 66%.
So you're saying we don't have enough count, we don't have enough.
Right.
Council.
We'll have enough to waive, to waive, to put it on third and final reading waive. We don't have enough votes at this point.
Okay, well, that takes care of that. I tell you what, let's leave it at this though. Mr. Jones and Mr. Wilson, if you would get with them and see if there are going to be any other adjustments on the price, and we are going to try to have a emergency or a special call meeting, I guess, on water as soon as we can get it done the next couple of days. And if there's no objection and we do have a different price, then we can put that on the agenda as well, so we don't have to wait 2 weeks. Is that anybody object to that? We should be able to know by this time tomorrow, say, or sooner. We should know tomorrow if we can get a downward negotiation on that price. Any objection to that, Mr. Jones or Mr. Wilson? Since we don't have the vote, we don't have the people we need to pass it tonight. Are y'all still on?
I'm still here, man.
Okay. So let's get with them tomorrow and see if we can get a different price. And if we can, or even if we can't, we have to pay it. So
Yes, sir.
let's see what we can do with lift truck services, since we don't have the votes to consider it tonight anyway. And we'll see if we can bring it up again, whether it's changed or not. If there's no objection to doing that, we'll add that to the agenda, so it'll be in compliance with the law. All right, thank y'all, Mr. Jones, Mr. Wilson. Thank y'all.
All right.
Yeah. So I guess, Mr. Valley, the remaining items on the agenda, that we can't.
Well, you have a quorum, but the 2/3. What I'm saying is the ordinances. If you're trying to adopt the ordinance tonight, you need 2/3 vote. You don't have enough, because you can vote, but when you vote, it adds the number to 7 versus 6, and so 2/3 vote. You would have needed another council member to vote, which really, when the council reduced to 4, is there'll never need for you to vote on a 2/3 vote issue, because unless you have 4.
We could do a budget resolution on the salaries, though. And then
Oh,
consider
certainly. You can do anything that requires a simple majority.
So I'll make this pitch. I would like to see the salaries that were going to be in discussion to be approved by resolution in the budget. And those salaries would restore the salaries that were in the, as I understand it, would restore the salaries that were in the original budget that were deferred. So I guess the motion I would ask for, and I'd be glad to answer specific questions about any of those salaries that I can answer. And I'm sure Mr. Turner would too. But the specific motion, I think, would be to adopt the raises that were submitted in the budget before they were deferred for budget adoption. Yeah, we can change that motion. That's what I would ask for anyway.
Point of clarity, Mr. Mayor. Are you asking for the very last?
What are you talking?
The very last budget
we
proposal that
deferred.
was given?
Yes, sir. We deferred in the interest of passing the budget by the deadline, was my impression, is we deferred the issue of raises for specific positions, not the COLA, not the minimum wage, but for specific positions in the budget, merit-based raises, I would call them, so that we could pass the budget without getting into that. So my request tonight, which we could do as a resolution, and I am in favor of them. I'm saying that publicly. So if there's any question, it does give me spending authority is what it does. And I'm in favor of doing those as soon as y'all approve it, but I can't do it unless you do approve it. So I'm asking y'all to consider restoring that to the budget that was deferred in the interest of approving the budget by the deadline, so that we can issue those raises.
Mayor, are you talking about what's on the agenda, the assistant directors of street and sanitation? Is that what you're talking about?
It would include those, and it would include the chief of staff and the other positions that were in that budget, if I recall, were I'm sorry, I should say the position. I'm going to say administrative assistant, but basically it's Ms. Pat over in street sanitation and or public works now. Elmer, Ant, and the deputy city clerk, Ms. Tyler, I believe. And that's all. That's all that I recall, but you're welcome to remind me, Derek or Sandy, if you can call it, but that's all I can.
That's not what's on this agenda.
Yes, please.
It says base pay ordinance amendment for the assistant directors of street and sanitation. Am I looking
Well,
at this
that's right.
wrong? And it says something about equipment operators.
But Mr. Valley was just pointing out that we can't do ordinances anyway. So I was gonna ask you, until we can do ordinances, and you can certainly take that up at that time, that you just give me the authority to give the raises. And if I don't give them, you can do the base pay ordinances if you want to. The base pay ordinance on the equipment operators would still need to be done also. So it's just that we don't have enough people, according to Mr. Valley, to do that. But if you give me the authority to do it, I will go ahead and do it anyway, is what I'm saying. And I'm saying that publicly on record, so you can hold me accountable for it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I want to say, is it possible for us to discuss this department by department instead of just giving all the raises that were in the budget that were taken out of the budget? And it wasn't like it was never to be addressed again, but
All right. It's possible.
that's not specific to me at all.
Sure, it's definitely possible.
Okay.
This is just me. Now this is how I feel about it. The two deputy directors, we holding off on them. I mean, they need their money. And also you had Miss Pat Lenore, you had other way, and the guys in the water department that have the licenses. We got where those guys got their license, and they've been held up for along with anybody. I think that we need to discuss all of these. And I think I just want to know how, with some of these numbers, like some of these people got a $10,000 raise, a $5,000 raise. How can you tell me, how do we get to those numbers? You know, in the middle of a pandemic, how do we get to those numbers?
Well,
I mean, I'm just wondering.
I can speak for the one employee that I directly oversee. You've spoken many times about the CARES Act money that we received. Ms. Halbert did all of the grant work, did all the application work, did all the phone calls and meetings and all the rest of that. And I can tell you with absolute certainty, we would not have received it if it hadn't been for her hard work. And so I'd say it's a merit-based raise. And on top of that, she's taking on more duties on a regular basis. So that would be my answer for the person I immediately oversee.
Okay, so you said the same thing about the city. Do you say the same about the city treasurer as well? You said the same thing about the city attorney as well. Those people have done some a lot. Everybody you've spoken about has a request for something. I think that what you should do is wait till you got a quorum, explain your situation then. But the people outside, the people who are out there on the front line that need to be paid, the water department guys, and I think the people in harm's way right now. I appreciate your pitch for the deputy director, clerk. They all need to be paid. But you want to take care of your essential workers out there on the front line first. And I think we should wait till we have a quorum. It's not to say it won't happen, but the way it's presented tonight is like, okay, this is what I want.
It's my understanding that we do have a quorum, or we couldn't be doing anything, right, Mr. Valley? I haven't checked, actually.
And those are not the only ones that were in there, because the city attorney's assistant, it was several people in there that were down for a raise.
Oh, I didn't know, but the only one I can tell you for sure would be the chief staff, and I'm familiar with the issue about the assistant directors of street and sanitation. On the water operators, we do have a scheme, or maybe that's not the right word. We have a program with Arkansas Rural Water that the water departments agreed to. If they meet certain licensure criteria the next year, they get a raise. And we still have to approve it. So it's not in the budget. It's based on whether or not they receive those certifications. You could approve it now, contingent on that if you wanted to. but it couldn't happen now because they haven't completed that coursework and gotten their certifications yet. So, but you can certainly hold out that promise if you wanted to. That's a separate budget item. But basically, unless Mr. Valley tells me I'm wrong, we have a quorum and a resolution. I could go ahead and give at least the raises you want me to give. How about that? And we don't have to have a base pay ordinance amendment on most or any of those except for the equipment options. Because those are people that are the people we hire coming in. That needs to be addressed, but we don't have the numbers to do that. But we have to do the other raises, and we don't have to do them all at once. We can take some tonight and do some later. But I'm just telling you, if you approve them, then by the next meeting, which sounds like it's going to be pretty soon, you'll know whether I do it or not. So you don't have to take my word for it. But I'm telling you publicly, I'm going to do that.
Well, I think we should wait until we have more council members and we should have a discussion department by department. That's just me. I'm only one vote.
Well, you're an important vote right now, so.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be.
Well, Ms. Davis, I'm with you all the way. I'm gonna wait.
Okay, so okay, all right, well, obviously, we're not gonna get it done then tonight, so. Having said that, we've reached at the end of the agenda then, so I guess we can go ahead and conclude. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Before we adjourn, I want to talk, you was talking about the water department. That's not been our thing. Our thing, if they got licenses, they would get a $1 per license. And I would like to see those guys who got their licenses to get paid their $1. Then, it's like Miss Pat Lenore and those other guys, the deputy directors, we said we was gonna look at that. Now, so are we gonna look at it? Are we gonna retroactive pay their money when we look at this, or how we gonna do this? Because those people are waiting.
Well, I mean, what we said is if the people that are signed up for this certifications with the Arkansas Rural Water Association, once they complete their certification as a city, we're supposed to give them a raise, but they have to complete it. We have to complete it first. So we can certainly appropriate it now, but we can't give it out until they've gotten their certification and completed the classwork. So really, it's 6 to 1, half another. We can do it now, but we can't give it to them now until they've completed their certification. So it's however you want to do it. The police department, you wanted me to do it. You wanted me to do the police department and wait until they got that meritorious, or wait until the people were actually in front of you to approve it. And instead of doing a carte blanche approval in advance. So it's the council's decision.
Well, no, but I'm saying, Mayor, these guys already have their license, have gotten licensed before and haven't received a dime. That's what I'm saying. The people that got their license and that were told once they get their license, they will be compensated for each license they have. That's what I'm talking about. What about those people?
Well, you'll have to tell me who those people are, because I can tell you, we don't have enough people with licenses. That's been a big problem. That's not news to y'all. The problem is getting people properly licensed and properly certified. And that's what the Arkansas Rural Water Services program that we talked about is all about. And they're starting that program, but they haven't completed it. And when they complete it, we can give the raises then, which we will need to do, or we can hold that out now and approve them now. But that's your call. But
if I may, I think the most prudent thing to do going forward is we put it in the base pay so that we won't have to address this. We can add a paragraph to the base pay. And so in the future, you already have it that when you get a license, it automatically kicks in. And so, or certification, so we won't have to deal with coming back and evaluating.
This is what I need you to understand about the program they're in. If you tell them they're getting paid an hour or more right now, and they complete the certification, then we have to give them another $1.
Oh, I understand. But I was saying
you're really giving them $2. And if that's what you want to do, fine. If you want to give them $1 for being certified, for getting certification, then the program says that we agree to give them that $1 after they've completed. Whatever they were making when they started, they get an extra $1. It doesn't matter
Right.
where that now.
Mayor, what I was saying is simply this. I think we need to add a paragraph to the base pay to explain what is the process for getting a dollar. If you get this license with the water department, this automatically you get this much of a raise, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we know specifically what we're talking about, or at the landfill, et cetera. I think we got to spell it out in the ordinance so it won't be any question, because you have license at the landfill, you have license at the water department, and any other license that a person would get. I think we need to spell out exactly what it is, so you have absolute clarity when they obtain that license. Then it's automatically this is what happens. Now, one other option, some people just do instead of giving you an hourly rate for this license, we give you a stipend once a year. Some people do that, and that may be more financially feasible for the city. It's not necessarily has to be that you get the hourly rate all year, but that's just something for you to think about.
Now, I'm for the first thing you said, because it helps Mr. Turner and I track with this rural water services licensure program that they just entered into for at least how many employees, Derek? Is it 6 or 3 and 3, or I'm trying to remember the total.
I'm thinking it's 4. I'm not sure though.
But it's 4 at a time. It's
Yeah.
a total of 8. So this first 6 months would be 3 or 4. And if they get it, then we're supposed to automatically give them that raise. So as long as it tracks with that, I think it would work. But if it doesn't track with that, we may end up giving them more than what we thought we were going to.
Well, I think
all I'm saying
in the ordinance, you spell out exactly what are your parameters. And once you spell out in the ordinance what your parameters are, those would automatically kick in. And so if the council wants it to be where they get both of those, they could do that. But if you're saying, let's go prospectively with it, and we've already considered people who already have licenses, et cetera, you also could do that. I'm not telling you how to make your sausage or what to put in it. It's up to you all how to do it. But I think we need to spell it out.
Mr. Turner, I think we could do a suggestion for the base pay ordinance on the water company landfill that is tied to licensure. But it needs, as long as on the water side, it's water and sewer side, it's tied to that program. We can do that, I guess, couldn't we?
I mean, you can do the ordinance any type of way you want to. I mean, that's just up to.
I mean, when you're talking about base, I mean, that's fine, but you're just remember, we're going to be locking that in.
I mean, the program, you don't have to, the program is something separate. You can just do the other certifications separate from the program, the rural water program. You can do those other ones separate. You can have the ordinance for those who aren't accepted into the program.
Aren't in the program.
Yeah. And the program, those in the program will simply take care of themselves.
I just want to be careful that we don't say base pay is now, and they get a raise, and then they get through the program, we have to give them another raise we didn't think about when we did the first one. But Mr. Valley explained that, but I think we can do that.
Yeah, and I think the other part about it, it is a neutral, well, regardless of who you are, you get it. The mayor doesn't have to come to the city council. It's already approved up front that you got the license, you got the proof and verification. That's it. Just keep on moving.
Okay. Well, Mr. Turner, we'll work on some language on that.
But what I'm saying is,
Water Department.
Mr. Mayor, there are people
Any other
already.
questions on salary issues?
Mayor,
before
people
we
already
adjourn?
have some license. Some folks already got some licensing, Mayor. That's what I was
Did you
trying
get
to
me those names? Because I've been trying to get them out of the water department for
Yes, sir.
quite some time.
Yes,
So
sir.
if you give me those
have-
names and what licenses they have. If you
Okay,
give
you
me
got.
those names and what licenses they have, I would very much appreciate having that information.
I'm trying to give it to you, Mayor. You got
Because I've been
Ricky
trying to get it for 2 years.
D. Womack, he has a water waste treatment operator. He got a license number. License number is 013620. He has that license.
So can you get me the document you're reading from?
It's let me go back to it. It is from this document is his Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality, Ricky D. Womack, water waste treatment operator, class 1. The next person we have is gonna be Oscar L. Donaby.
Can you get me those names though, and can you just send them to me or send them to Helen instead of reading them? So
yes, sir.
Everybody else can get off. But we don't have enough. We don't meet state minimum recommendations or regulations on this. I can tell you. And I've been trying for 2 years to get names with licenses, and the information I got has been all over the map. So it's an important issue, and it's one that's got to be addressed. And y'all know that. Y'all were talking about it when I first came into office about the licensure issue with the water department. So this program, rural water resources, helps us do that. And if we can identify those people with existing licenses who are going to not make as much as they would have, then we'll do that. But I need the names with the licenses. And I think Mr. Turner will back me up on this. We've been trying to get some straight answers on this for some time. And it includes what's available online at the state, but there's additional information as well. But send us whatever you got, because it'll be appreciated no matter what. So if you could send that document to me or to Ms. Helen, or Mr. Turner for that matter, because all three of us have been working on that for some time. All righty. Any other business before the council? If not, is there a motion to adjourn? Does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Anybody? Davis makes adjournment. If there's no objection, the meeting's adjourned. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
And we'll get back to you as soon as possible, hopefully in the morning on this other meeting on the water issue. Thank you.